This is a sample of the information provided as part of the flexible training resources available through hasup.com. Our training courses are designed to provide training participants with an understanding of food safety and quality system elements and also offer user-friendly assessment activities and competency checklists to complete the training cycle. Good manufacturing practices. Key definitions for good manufacturing practices. Codex Alimentarius. The Codex Alimentarius, Latin for food code or food book, is a collection of internationally recognized standards, codes of practice, guidelines and other recommendations relating to foods, food production and food safety. Good hygiene practices or GHP, practices adopted to ensure appropriate levels of personal, environmental and food hygiene are maintained. Good laboratory practices or GLP, practices adopted to ensure appropriate levels of control are achieved within a laboratory environment. Good manufacturing practices or GMP, practices adopted to ensure appropriate levels of control is achieved within a food business environment. Good transport practices or GTP, practices adopted to ensure appropriate levels of control is achieved within a food transport environment. Good warehousing practices or GWP, practices adopted to ensure appropriate levels of control are achieved within a food warehouse environment. Hazard Analysis Critical Control Point or HACCP. HACCP is a food safety methodology that relies on the identification of critical control points in all stages of food business processes. Hermetically sealed, with a hermetic seal, so as to be airtight. Microbiological pathogen, any microbiological entity including viruses, bacteria or other microorganisms that can cause foodborne illness in humans. pH, from potential of hydrogen, the logarithm of the reciprocal of hydrogen ion concentration in gram atoms per liter. Provides a measure on the scale from 0 to 14 of the acidity or alkalinity of a solution where 7 is neutral and greater than 7 is more alkaline and less than 7 is more acidic. Thermophilic, heat-tolerant type of bacteria that require high temperatures for normal development. Water activity or AW. Water activity is a measurement of water content. Free or unbound water available in a food for microbial growth. It is defined as the vapor pressure of water divided by that of pure water at the same temperature. Therefore, pure distilled water has a water activity of exactly 1. Good manufacturing practices development. When considering the development, documentation and implementation of good manufacturing practices within food safety and quality management systems, the following information should be considered to ensure effective outcomes. About good manufacturing practices. Production processes. Production process fundamentals. The principles of food hygiene. Key aspects of food hygiene control systems. About good manufacturing practices. Good manufacturing practices policies exist for the purpose of establishing both broad and specific guidelines for a particular industry operation regarding personal appearance and hygiene, cleaning and sanitation, food handling and manufacturing practices, and other relevant industry-specified interests. Assurances that food handlers and other peoples involved in the nominated industry sector are introduced to appropriate workplace-related practices, providing documentation concerning personal appearance and hygiene, cleaning and sanitation, and controlling the production processes within the bounds of governing legislation, and assuring that all finished food products safe and of suitable quality. Good manufacturing practices are often used as the foundation for the specific food hygiene requirements relating to a designated sector of food production. All sectors of the food industry have special challenges when it comes to good manufacturing practices. The nature of the foods produced by your business makes the results of your manufacturing processes of great importance to the welfare of the intended consumers of such products. The consequences of non-compliance with appropriate production guidelines can potentially have a disastrous effect on consumer health, sometimes with tragic results. The concepts of appropriate food manufacturing processes and practices are important enough to warrant formal guidelines issued as legislation and food codes. Food law mandates ongoing GMP training and management of food industry employees, and requires that the scope and purpose of such is to enhance and sustain the continued use of GMP management of all food industry sectors. Appropriate and well-managed GMP concepts form the basis of prerequisite programs for high-caliber food safety and quality management programs, including hazard analysis, critical control point-based food safety. The term good manufacturing practices is often used in conjunction with good hygiene practices. Other variations include good transport practices, good warehousing practices, and good laboratory practices, all of which are bound by the requirement to produce safe and suitable outcomes against legislative requirements, industry guidelines, and recognized best practice. Both GMP and GHP contain policies including personnel practices, plant and equipment design and maintenance, process procedures, storage design and cleanliness, housekeeping, general and specific cleaning and sanitation, pest control, training. In addressing the legislative requirements or industry codes of practice or food laws, the two primary concerns of GMP and GHP are meeting the mandatory provisions of industry codes of practice or food laws, and adhering to the advisory provisions and following an appropriate path to meet the mandatory provisions. In addressing these requirements, the Good Manufacturing Practices Policy and the Good Hygiene Practices Policy should provide the basis of what food handlers and associated people need to follow in meeting the legislative requirements. Production processes. The aim of production processes is to produce food that is safe and suitable for human consumption by formulating design requirements with respect to raw materials, composition, processing, distribution, and consumer use to be met in the manufacture and handling of specific food items. Designing, implementing, monitoring and reviewing effective food safety and quality control systems, and taking preventative measures to assure the safety and suitability of food at an appropriate stage in the operation by controlling food safety and quality hazards. Production process fundamentals. The following considerations should be made in the application of process control within any food business. Processes involved should not allow the significant survival or growth of pathogenic microorganisms. Food handlers must use appropriate and relevant measures to prevent contamination of food during preparation, storage, or handling. This may include the use of specified clothing, hand washing practices, and the exclusion of staff affected by illness or injury. Packaging must be constructed of appropriate materials and stored in a way that reduces the possibility of contamination. Finished product must be stored and handled appropriately so as not to allow the significant survival or growth of pathogenic microorganisms. Food must not be used once it has passed its use-by period. Hygienic food preparation is aided by food handling staff who persistently abide by food hygiene protocols. Properly designed, constructed, maintained, cleaned and sanitized equipment and premises minimize the risk of food contamination. Food materials must be transported and stored at appropriate temperatures, in a manner that does not allow contamination. Food handling and processing equipment must be able to be easily cleaned and sanitized before use and must be constructed from impervious and non-corrodable materials. Premises and equipment designed for specified food production should be capable of being appropriately cleaned and sanitized and vermin-proof to prevent the likelihood of contamination. Adequate and relevant programs must be in place to monitor and control the interactions of personnel regarding the production of safe and suitable food. The goals of such programs will ensure safe food handling practices. Staff training must be verified as to its relevance and accuracy in specific tasks, and in making people responsible for their actions within the holistic process. Ongoing training, particularly in personal hygiene, personal conduct and hygienic handling of food, will reinforce the positive nature of outcomes relating to food safety. Personnel requirements may include the maintenance of documentation for staff having undertaken training, and the relevant content of the training information issued. Personnel training policy including requirements for on-the-job and task-specific training. The principles of food hygiene. The conditions under which food is handled from the point of production until final consumption determine the quality and safety of the food we eat. The basic rules for the hygienic handling, storage, processing, distribution and final preparation of all food, along the food production chain are set out in the Codex Alimentarius General Principles of Food Hygiene. They include requirements for the design and facilities, control of operations including temperature, raw materials, water supply, documentation and recall procedures, maintenance and sanitation, personal hygiene and training of personnel. Hygienic practices form an integral part of all food safety management systems, including the Hazard Analysis Critical Control Point system. The general principles are recommended for adoption by governments, industry including primary producers, manufacturers, processors, food service operators and retailers and consumers. The general principles of food hygiene cover all aspects of circumstances that are necessary to ensure the safety and suitability of food at all stages of its handling, processing, storage and distribution. The aims of food hygiene are to ensure that food is safe to eat at the time of consumption, prevent food contamination and associated food poisoning, facilitate the continuing effective control of food hazards, pests, and other agents likely to contaminate food. Food hygiene is achieved through effective systems which ensure adequate and appropriate maintenance and cleaning and sanitation, control pests, manage waste, and monitor effectiveness of maintenance and sanitation procedures. Did you know that HACCP.com includes resources that allow you to create, manage and implement GFSI and HACCP-based food safety and quality programs? Improve your food safety and quality skills and knowledge? Train and develop your team to create better food safety and quality outcomes? Find suppliers and service providers to partner with your business? The information and training resources available through HACCP.com include a variety of formats, such as website content, MP4, MP4 and text, MP3, PDF and slideshow. Are you ready to take the next step in your food compliance journey? Visit HACCP.com today to create your profile and access the full versions of our food safety and quality information packages and much more.